Welcome to our Kroger Kickoff. As you can tell, we're right outside Sanford Stadium, next to the Tate Student Center, and just to my left, you hear the Red Coat Band. The pathway in which they stand will be filled with Georgia football players in a couple of minutes as the Dog Walk takes place. You'll be able to see it right here on these Dog Walk video channels. And Jeff Sintel, I got to tell you, coming in today, early in the morning already, road on I-85 coming into Athens, jam-packed. The streets around Athens, jam-packed. Tailgaters filling up the rolling hills of Athens very early today. The atmosphere in which that's already taking place here in the Classic City is so unlike anything we've seen from the previous two home games. This is a town ready for its SEC home opener and ready for that traditional rival against the Tennessee Vols. I could not be more excited about it.
So a couple of things right now, Brandon. I don't know how much of the Kanye West library you're familiar with, but we just heard Kanye West Power right here by the Redcoats right before the Dog Walk. I think it's going to be a big day. If you go to the Dog Nation forum and if you go to the Dog Nation webpage, we've added another 5-star that we've confirmed for the day as well. So go check that out. We've got a very big day, and you know what, Brandon? This just feels finally like a Georgia football game.
It really does, and I could not be more excited about it. And we talked about this on Friday on my show, Dog Nation Daily. The idea that because the recruits that are going to be here are so, the list is so long, because Georgia-Tennessee is one of those series, I'll call it a rivalry, that has a lot of backstory and history, that this is the kind of day where fans want to show up and be here early, make a bunch of noise, put on a big show. Hopefully by the fourth quarter it's dark enough to do the Light Up Sanford when the Red Coat Band plays the Krypton theme. This is that moment. Georgia's more than a 30-point favorite, but that doesn't mean that it's not still a very big game, and so far Dog Nation's response has been exactly what you would have expected to be.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, we talked earlier in the week how shocked we both were that the point spread was 33 points. What's the line right now for those sports enthusiasts right now?
It's dropped just a little bit. It's probably, depending on where you find it, 31, 31 and a half. May get back up to 32 or so before kickoff here. Has had a little bit of movement in the direction of the Vols, which is to be expected when it was as outsized as it was to start the week.
So I want to challenge everybody out there. I want you to tell us right now in the comment section, give me that final score, put your Facebook name to it, let us know what, there's Krypton right there, let us know what you think about everything else, and I tell you what, I do think Georgia big in this one.
Yeah, so Jeff Sintel likes Georgia big. I want to talk about a couple ideas that I have about the game and what's going to happen before we see the Georgia team walk through for the Dog Walk, something you'll get a chance to see here on our Kroger Kickoff coming up in just a couple of minutes. Let me talk about the recruiting angle on this, though, before we get there. We know this is an official visit day for Lewis Cine in the forum at forum.dognation.com. You've been talking about the other major 5-star visitors who'll be taking unofficial visits. Talk about this just from the standpoint of a recruiting day for Georgia. What your expectation is in terms of this brand new West End Zone facility that'll really be put into the work today. How big is this for Georgia's pursuit of its 2019, 2020, 2021 classes right now?
Well, I think, the main thing is it's really easy to say that this is the biggest recruiting weekend of the year, and it might be the second biggest when all's said and done. Georgia doesn't want to have official visitors for game weekends anymore. I think Lewis Cine is an exception. Of course, late-breaking news last night was Lewis Cine's best buddy, Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders' son, the 2021 quarterback, who has an offer from Georgia. He was his rolling buddy with Lewis the last time they were both here for the end zone reveal. And they're expecting, Brandon, the university is expecting so many recruits that they're kind of sequestering off that west end zone a little bit prior to the game because it's going to be so thick with 2020, 2021s. The 2019 commitments mostly, but I will say a major 5-star. Hope everybody saw it when we put it on the board this week. That's Miles Murphy, the junior 5-star, is going to be there. Of course, you might also find the name Clay Webb on the forum visitors list as well by now. So it keeps adding, it keeps getting bigger and bigger.
So let me talk about the forum here for a second at forum.dognation.com. You hear the roars in the background behind me. Dog Walk coming up, so keep it close to where you got it so you can see the Georgia team when they make their way in here in just a couple of moments. But make sure you're following the forum at forum.dognation.com, both on game days, I'll tell you about that coming up, and during the week leading up to the game. Because, Jeff, one of the things about the particular story of a long visitors list like the one you're going to get on a day like this, it is a moving thing, right? It's a living, breathing thing. It evolves. Names get added. In some cases, travel issues. We've seen this before where names may get taken off there in that regard. So this is one of those things that's almost better covered by the forum than anything else, just simply because the actual information changes over the course of the time.
Well, you get it earlier, but also I think maybe an overused word is fluid, because that's what it is, because you're talking about multiple situations. There was a player that told me he was going to be there today and wanted to keep it secret, but he woke up this morning and he was really sore all over his body, so he's not going to be there. And then there's another player who hoped to be there, and that's Micah Morris, the nation's #2 offensive tackle from Camden County. He's a 2021 guy, though. But his game last night got rescheduled to 11 a.m. this morning in South Georgia, which made it verily impossible for him to join everybody and see Georgia, Tennessee tonight as well. I think guys like you like seeing it early. They like seeing it evolve. They like seeing it trickle in as the weeks go by.
Let's talk about what's going to happen on the field here for a moment while we've still got Jeff. Jeff will say goodbye to us in a couple of minutes, and he'll get ready for some of his action, some of his behind-the-scenes stuff that he does to get us the information that we've come to love and expect from him. I wrote at DawgNation.com this week in my By the Numbers piece what I'm still looking to see more of from the Georgia running game. And I think when you look at this game against Tennessee, the two big stories really involve running the football, both in terms of Georgia stopping the run against a Tennessee team that wants to run it a lot. Last week, obviously, we know what happened with Missouri, and Georgia asserting itself more with its own running game. Let me start with that here for a moment, in particular on first down. Jeff, I went back and looked deep at Georgia's stats for the first 4 games. Really surprised to see not that same level of dominance that you've come to expect from the Georgia running game, in particular on first down. Only a 39% success rate, meaning they've only gained 5 yards or more on 39% of their first down runs thus far this season. That's putting the defense, or I should say the offense, kind of behind schedule, almost behind the chains potentially on second, third down. When I look at this game, what I'm looking to see in particular from this game today, it's how Georgia establishes its running game on first down. That may be the single most important stat for me to see. What has Georgia done? How has it grown and improved since last week against Missouri? That stat alone may go a long way towards telling me that story.
Well, I think that maybe the major storyline for me so far in 2018 is maybe the style points and how they do it. Got to remember, Georgia scored 40 points in all 4 of their games. It's just how they do it. Has the quarterback been impressive, top 10 in the country? Have the running backs looked like a favorable comparison to Sony and Chubb? I think, one thing I think gets lost in this is how well Mecole Hardman is playing. Yeah. Because all the players that maybe the fan base thinks that the Bulldogs aren't reaching their peak, I think Mecole Hardman is exceeding his peak. I think today's a big game for Mecole. Remember, he goes back a long way with Jeremy Pruitt on those recruiting ties. Jeremy was even in church with him on some mornings there in Bowman and in Elberton. And I think this is a big game for Mecole, whether he can legitimize himself as, okay, game 5, he is going to be the game breaker for Georgia on offense. And maybe he can ignite an All-American and maybe even some of that Heisman buzz that I think right now is still a little premature.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And then let's spend a moment talking about the Georgia defense here. Did not stop the run particularly well against Missouri. Kirby Smart admitted that. It was not a good day for this team stopping the run. That's essentially how he described that. We know that Tennessee wants to run it. They've recruited the running back position fairly well. With a healthy Trey Smith, now Brandon Kennedy, the graduate transfer from Alabama, not healthy anymore. So the Tennessee's not at full streak with this offensive line. But this is one thing that Tennessee thinks is probably its only chance to keep this game close today, is how it moves the football when it's trying to run it. Georgia stopping this Tennessee running game may be one of those great litmus tests to see, is this a real problem for Georgia, or is this something that was just sort of a one-week blip because maybe Georgia was more concerned about stopping the first-round draft pick quarterback in Drew Lock?
Yeah, what I'm kind of looking to see, and this is some insidery little bit stuff right here, I wonder if Tennessee might copy the game plan Will Muschamp in South Carolina used last year. When Georgia was kind of a clearly better team, and they kind of didn't try to do too much. They protected the right to punt, and then maybe Pruitt and Tennessee might be happy to get out of here with a 31-10 loss, something like that. They don't want to see the 6 turnovers. They don't want to take a lot of shots that allow Georgia to keep putting on those Savage Spikes shoulder pads like they've done so far this year.
I think we got a good friend in our video here, Harry Dawg, entertaining everybody here at the Dog Walk. It's good to have him here with us. Good to have you with us as well. You're watching the Kroger Kickoff right here on the Dog Nation video channels. Don't forget, if you're here in Athens and getting ready for a great tailgate, I know that you already know the best way to stock up for that tailgate is with our friends at Kroger. And if you're watching at home and if you're having your watch party there, getting some friends and family over your house, the best way to stock pickup for that party is right there at your local Atlanta Kroger. So make sure you check that out, and you'll be ready to go with all of that. Looks like police may be ready to push us out of here in just a minute. So let me get a final thought from you. What are you looking for here today? What are you expecting to see during this game?
I think Georgia will kind of try to eliminate all the petty storylines, run game, stop the run, tackles for loss, sacks. I think somebody on offense is going to have a big day. Also, quick note, you got the basketball team handing out passes to Stegmania down there. So Tom Crean's boys are marketing and meeting and pressing the flesh as well. Hope everybody has a good day here at Sanford Stadium.
That's Jeff Sintel. He'll be getting ready to take advantage of a lot of the opportunities that he has to tell you more about the recruiting storylines going on here. I'll also tell you that after the game, make sure you join us at the UGA bookstore, just steps from where I am right now, for our Northside Hospital post-game show. Let's get ready to keep the dog walk coverage going here as we get ready to take the dog walk. We'll give you a look at that as I step off the screen here, step off the camera here. We'll get ready to bring this to you, give you a shot of the Georgia cheerleaders, and give you a chance to see everything that's going on here. I am getting in my position here. I'm getting in my position here to get ready to see this. And the crowd's starting to make a lot of noise here. We're trying to accommodate Athens police, who obviously, and University of Georgia police, who are obviously huge crowd out here for the dog walk here today. Throngs in attendance here. And we're trying to get our position to make sure you get this chance, the best chance to see the dog walk without us actually getting arrested in the process here. So let's see if we can keep that going, and hopefully hopefully we can have a good time with that. So you see some buses driving by. Those are not Georgia football buses yet. You'll know it's the team once you hear the sirens wail, and at that point in time, you'll be on your way to seeing the dog walk here. Thanks for being with us here on the Dog Nation video channels. Don't forget, 3:30 kickoff for the game today between Georgia and Tennessee. And during the game, as I was mentioning with Jeff Sintel a moment ago, don't forget, it is our forum. We're going to be very busy at the forum.dawgnation.com. I'll be in the forum today from the press box. Jeff Sintel, Connor Riley from the field. They'll be weighing in with their thoughts and some of the eyewitness accounts they see from the field right there. You get a chance to have that. And, of course, after the game, at DawgNation.com, plenty of coverage from Mike Griffith and Chip Towers, our two embedded reporters with the team here in Athens every single day, and all over everything that happens between the Dogs and the Vols. And then after the game, it'll be Jeff Sintel once again, me, and our buddy, the former Georgia punter, Cameron Nizilik, for the Northside Hospital post-game show there at the UGA bookstore. So if you're seeing this and you're in Athens and you're looking for something to do after the game, make sure you swing on by and say hello to us and see us there. We'd love to shake your hand and talk a little football with you then, as Georgia gets ready for a huge game here today. And, you know, when you come into Athens on a day like this, you can't help but think about all the times before that you've driven in under similar circumstances to take on the Tennessee Vols. Two programs that, as I was growing up in the 80s as a big fan of the Georgia Bulldogs, they didn't play as much as you might think. Played the historic game in 1980, which was the debut of Herschel Walker, a blowout back in Knoxville in 1981. And then the two teams didn't get back together again, I don't guess, until 1988 maybe. So a long drought of these two teams not really playing during the 80s. But when the decision was made to add South Carolina and Arkansas into the SEC and become a 12-team league, split into two divisions, Georgia and Tennessee became division rivals and have played ever since. Now, longtime Georgia fans will remember that the decade of the 90s was not too kind to Georgia in this rivalry. The presence of Philip Fulmer and Peyton Manning and later T. Martin in a 1998 game that was the first time ever ESPN's College Game Day came to the Athens campus, setting up really just behind where we're shooting this video from right now, and a huge rock concert-like scaffold that day. Georgia did not live up to its end of the billing for what was supposed to be a big game there that day, a disappointing loss. But then 2 years later in 2000, Georgia would beat Tennessee. Not a great Tennessee team, but a huge win for the program, given the fact that it had been so long since it occurred. And then on that night, in what I believe has to be about the only time this has happened in Sanford Stadium history, fans came onto the field and actually tore down the goalpost. If you can find video of that on YouTube, I'm sure it's there somewhere. I'm sure our friends at the UGA Vault probably have some of this as well. If you can ever find video of Georgia tearing down the goalposts after the 2000 Georgia-Tennessee game, that is certainly something to see because it's really unlike any home experience that Georgia's ever had in Sanford Stadium. Of course, the following year after that, 2001, as we talked to David Green this week about on Dog Nation Daily, was the famous hobnail boot game, the last-second touchdown throw from Green to Georgia fullback Veron Haynes, and then a brand-new era in this rivalry was built. Georgia would go on to win in 2002, 2003, dropped a heartbreaker in 2004 to come back and win an SEC championship season of 2005, and really the fortunes of the programs at that point in time really changed. Tennessee became a shadow of what it had formerly been, and Georgia would go on to great success under Mark Richt. Of course, all that's water under the bridge now as these two teams get ready to do battle once again here in 2018, with Georgia led by Kirby Smart and Tennessee led by former Georgia defensive coordinator and most recently as Alabama defensive coordinator Jeremy Pruitt. Georgia, huge favorite here, but that has done nothing to dampen the mood around Athens and Sanford Stadium. In just a couple of minutes, you'll see that in full effect here as the dog walk does take place. Georgia cheerleaders firing up the crowd. As Jeff Sintel said a moment ago during our Kroger Kickoff, the Georgia basketball team, both the men and the women's team, it's kind of a cool deal here. These two teams have been out here passing out flyers and now throwing like basketballs and candy into the crowd. It's almost like a Little League parade from when you're growing up. They're obviously promoting their new season in a big event they have coming up in October, what they're calling Stegmania, which is like, I guess the best comparison here is a throwback to the old Midnight Madness that you may remember around college basketball years ago. So they're here promoting that and getting folks excited about that. And that's kind of a cool thing to see, these two programs interacting with the fans in such a relatable face-to-face way here. And obviously, this throng of, to be honest, mostly football fans is really receiving the basketball team well here. Kind of a cool moment, and probably, if I had to guess, indicative of some of the fan-friendly changes that brand-new basketball coach Tom Crean has brought to the basketball team. Of course, you see some fun there with the cameras. Of course, Joni Taylor doing a great job with the Lady Dogs as well. That's become a very successful program once again. And I see Georgia basketball coach Tom Crean there waving to the crowd, saying hello to everybody, and having a good time. You also see the big traditional, unmissable, unmistakable Georgia flag, the American flag here. Of course, the American flag reminding you maybe the less than stellar effort by the American Ryder Cup team thus far during Ryder Cup play over in Les Goffes Nationales in France, but we'll take your mind off that and bring it back to a sport, I guess, that we're a little bit more familiar with in football. Huge ovations now. I think you can guess why. Bus is starting to form. Dog walk going to take place here in just a couple of minutes. Huge chant of UGA going on. Thanks for being with us as part of our Kroger Kickoff. In just a couple of minutes, you're going to get a chance to see what you came to see. You'll be able to see the dog walk as it happens. You'll be able to see that take place here. We're going to make some room, make sure everybody is able to see this here. And we'll be glad to have you here and having a great time at the dog walk here today. So thanks for being with us here on the Dog Nation video channels. Coming off the bus first, I do see a handful of Georgia players starting to make their way through. If I'm not mistaken, I saw Georgia tight end Isaac Nada. He's already off the bus. I see Kirby Smart standing and waiting to make his way in. He'll be one of the first leaders of this team to come on in here. You'll get a chance to see that in just a moment. Tailgaters from the Tate deck, which is a multi-level parking deck next to us, they are wrapping around the outside of their parking facility. They want to see a great view of this. The banks to my left are also filled. Everybody hoping for that tiny glimpse of the team that will play as the undefeated 4-0, number 2 ranked team in the land, the Georgia Bulldogs. And they are heading in towards Sanford Stadium right now. High fives and handshakes all around. Kirby Smart walking over to shake some hands and say hello to people. A really cool scene here. Terry Godwin out in front. Jonathan Ledbetter without his customary eyeglasses. Isaac Nada sticking his hand out to say hello to shake some hands. I see Cade Mays there. What a big day this is for Mays, given his family's relationship with Tennessee. Here comes Charlie Warner. Jake Fromm came by. There's Georgia offensive line coach Sam Pittman. Georgia's on its way in. I see Demetrius Robertson. Trey Blunt coming by. There's the kicker, Rodrigo Blankenship. Stylish as always. State Patrol officers, police officers, as Kirby Smart walks by us here also. Kirby shaking a lot of hands and saying hello to a lot of people out there. Jake Skoll, like always, winning the Fashion Award for the day. That's something he's become known for. Notori Johnson coming by. D'Angelo Gibbs. A whole host of Georgia players walking on through. Nate McBride came by a moment ago. Now some of the Georgia support staff starting to show up here. What an incredible moment that was. The dog walk coming by here in our Kroger Kickoff. I'm glad you had a chance to see that. The Georgia team will now head its way into Sanford Stadium in their brand new locker room. They'll get ready to get dressed in there. They'll be on the field for warm-ups a couple of minutes after that. Don't forget, after the game, we'll be here for you live on the Northside Hospital postgame show. Coverage in the forum all day long at forum.dawgnation.com and at Dawg Nation as well. Thanks for being with us here today on our Kroger Kickoff. And don't forget, for your tailgate, for your party, anything you got going on, Kroger is the place around the Atlanta area to make sure you get the best deals and the best possible food and drinks. And have a great time. Enjoy the game. We'll see you again next week right here before the game for our Kroger Kickoff.